is now an update when it comes to Puerto Princesa. The Office of Civil Defense reports at least 3 casualties and 2 others missing from heavy rains and flooding in Palawan. A state of calamity has been declared in Puerto Princesa City. Joining us via Zoom is OCD Spokesperson Chris Bendijo. Magandang umaga po. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, sir. Good morning.
All right. Good morning, sir. The state of calamity first has just been put up in Puerto Princesa. Could you give us more details kung ano pong status ng Puerto Princesa ngayon?
We're still monitoring flooded areas. No, for Puerto Princesa, we still have 6 reported areas which are still flooded, although receding. And we're a bit concerned of the low pressure area that's developing, although outside our Philippine area of responsibility. There's a forecast that's telling us that it might cause rain still in Palawan. So we're monitoring this because really the ground is really saturated. No? If you can imagine, 350 millimeters of water was brought by this shear line. And on the average, it's just 30 millimeters. The last, if you can, the last highest recorded water disbursement was 1975. And that was just 250 millimeters of water. So we're monitoring this because we want to take advantage of the stoppage of the rains. We're conducting rescue operations. Right now, we're also monitoring our evacuation centers. And that's the current situation right now.
Sir, could you give us more details on the amount of manpower present in terms of rescue operations in the affected areas?
I'm sorry, Paolo, I didn't get that.
Could you give us a bit of an update on the type of manpower already being utilized in terms of yung rescue operations po ninyo?
Yes, right now our rescue equipment and vehicles are being deployed because obviously the problem here is access to our residents. No, so our local OCD, our regional offices, are coordinating with the local government units to determine which of their residents have not yet been evacuated to the evacuation centers. We're trying to go to them, and usually it's not really a matter of choice for these individuals. Either they have problems with mobility, old age. That's why we are concentrating our relief equipment, our rescue equipment rather, to these areas. No, we are coordinating with the Philippine Coast Guard, our local police, our Bureau of Fire. I think that's the complement of our rescue team.
The affected areas po, we mentioned Puerto Princesa already under the state of calamity, but are there other affected areas that the OCD is looking at?
Yes. Sorry. Excuse me. For Palawan, we're monitoring Aborlan, Nara, Brooks Point also, no? And I think of recent, Eastern Visayas is also being affected by the shear line. For Eastern Visayas, we have 90 families already affected. So we're monitoring both regions. We're in close coordination with our regional directors of the OCD.
So are there any official numbers yet or an updated number of the number of casualties or people missing as well as residents evacuated, starting first in Palawan and then looking at Eastern Visayas?
Okay, for Palawan, in terms of casualties, I think you reported earlier that there have been 3 casualties. This is a result of a vehicular accident. No? They tried to traverse a flooded area, but unfortunately, they were swept by the flood. Of this incident, there are still 2 missing individuals, but subject for verification. In terms of evacuation for Palawan, affected population for Palawan, we have a total of 64 barangays. That's closely 13,000 families or roughly 44,000 individuals. In Eastern Visayas, that's 90 families, 362 individuals, 237 in Northern Samar, 45 in Eastern Samar, and 80 in Leyte. Total affected population would be 23,000 families, or that's closely 86,000 individuals.
Do we have any updates on whether or not there is already an estimate of the cost of the damage wrought by the rains?
For today, Paolo, we're expecting a report by 9 a.m. You see, yesterday and this morning, we're still concentrating on rescue and relief operations. After we're done with that, we will do our post-disaster needs assessment. That's where the reports will come in as to the value of agricultural or other infrastructure damages will come in.
Sir Chris, I know that we are still in the middle of the operations in terms of rescuing people, in terms of trying to make sure that the damage is mitigated, especially, and also hoping that the LPA does not affect the relief operations as well. But a lot of people are wondering, how did the flooding situation get this bad over in Palawan? I know you mentioned that it is a bit historic. I think the most amount of rain since the 70s. But then from an infrastructure point of view, is there anything that people could point to with regard to the poor flood management over in Palawan?
Well, what we can say is that in terms of infrastructure, we have flood control projects there, no? But again, going back to the numbers, I think it's just really overwhelming. This is perhaps a result of climate change, and I think this is where the dialogue should start, no? With respect to infrastructure, I think we should make more appropriate adjustments insofar as flood control because it appears that this is the new norm, no? Right now, we are also in coordination and communication with Pag-asa in developing a system, a warning system with respect to shear line, because I think we've had a discussion before, no, that as compared to tropical cyclones, that you can predict the movement, the eye of the storm, its trajectory, its direction. The peculiar thing about shear line is that the cloud formations just really stay, no, they don't have much movement. That's why the rainfall is focused on a particular area, and because of this, the flood control projects, the infrastructure is really overwhelmed. So if you can imagine, on the average, it's expecting 30 millimeters of water, and then over the last day, it delivered more than 350 millimeters. So I think we have to sit down and discuss with our government agencies again. There's a full council meeting of the NDRRMC, and I'm sure this is something that will come up.
Thank you so much for all your updates. That is the OCD spokesperson Chris Bendijo for those updates. Maraming salamat po. Have a good morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.